Have you ever noticed that the moment that you actually start to get your life together, things just seem to get harder for you? The moment that you start waking up early, the moment that you start hitting the gym consistently, the moment that you start praying more, the moment that you start working on your goals, the moment that you decide that you're done being the old version of yourself, suddenly everything comes against you. You start feeling tired, you start questioning yourself, old temptations start to show back up, negative thoughts become louder, and most people think that this is because they're doing something wrong. But what if the opposite is true? What if the resistance that you're getting in your life is actually evidence that you're moving in the right direction? One of the biggest concepts that's discussed in the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill is drifting. He describes a drifter as someone that moves through life unconsciously. They don't choose their thoughts, they don't choose their habits, they don't even choose their direction in life. They're simply just carried wherever life chooses to take them. And if you're drifting, there is no need for resistance because you're already moving with the current. The resistance begins when you stop drifting, when you're in the hands of God, when you begin to wake up finally. The resistance comes when you begin to be intentional with your life. And that's why it's so important that you never quit, because most people quit right before their big breakthrough in life. You have to understand that drifting is the enemy. The enemy is Satan, it's the devil. That is his favorite weapon, is for people to drift. You are an easy target for the enemy when you're drifting in life. When you're moving through life unconsciously, when you're not being intentional with your actions, with your thoughts, with your speech. Most people think that destruction in their life comes from one simple mistake. That is rarely how it happens. People rarely wake up and just ruin their lives in a day. They drift every single day. They drift here, they drift there, little by little, day by day. One distracted morning, one missed workout, one excuse, one compromise, then another, then another, then another, and then they start drifting back into their old self when they were already in the process of becoming a new person. And this is exactly what I call the devil attacking you. When you are on your way to the other side, when you are on your way to be delivered into God's hands, when ultimately you're going to achieve everything you've ever wanted, right before that point is when the devil is going to attack you the most. It is when the lustful thoughts are going to come back. It is when the demotivating thoughts is going to come back. It's when you fall back into your old habits unconsciously, subconsciously, and you start to drift. You should think of the average day. You wake up, you grab your phone, you scroll, you react to the notifications, you consume the random information, you complain about your circumstances, and then you repeat the same habits. You go to sleep, and then you wonder why your life never changes. That is what drifting is. The devil, he already has you in his hands when you are drifting. So there is no need for resistance. So if you're not seeing resistance in your life, more than likely you're not moving in the right direction, because the devil is going to he's going to tempt you so much when you're moving in the right direction. Drifting is very dangerous because it feels normal. You don't feel anything. It doesn't feel like it's happening. You simply just wake up one morning and you're like, what happened? Where did the momentum go? Where did the years go? The people who transform their lives are not necessarily smarter than you. They're just more intentional. They're just more conscious. They're more aware of their actions, their thoughts, and their speech. They decide who they want to become instead of letting things in their external world decide what they do and then conforming to that and moving unconsciously through life. These are the people that believe everything they see on social media, on the news. They don't think for themselves. They don't have their own ideas. Their ideas were passed on to them, whether it's by the news, whether it's by their parents, whether it's by their religious leaders, their teachers. They don't think for themselves. All their ideas came from somewhere else. So what I encourage you guys to do is I encourage you to, for every thought that you are currently having, write it down and think to yourself, where does this thought come from? If it's a fearful thought, where does this fearful thought come from? It comes from somewhere. Now, why am I having it? And then once you decide and you're aware on the thought and why you're having it, then you can work on changing the thought. And the more that you do that, that is called non-drifting. That is called being intentional with your thoughts, so that you are making sure that your thoughts, your actions, and your habits align with the type of person that you want to be. And you need to have a very clear vision on the type of person you want to be, because every time you have a thought or every time you're going to do something that doesn't align with that person, The clearer the vision, the easier it is to actually resist the temptation. If you have a clear vision of the type of person you want to be. But if the vision is skewed, if there's no goals, if you've never written it down, if you've never thought about it, you're just gonna, like I said, drift through life unconsciously. You're not gonna do things intentionally because you don't have a clear vision of where you're going and who you want to be. People think that the attack is going to come in the form of obvious evil, but typically the attack is usually very subtle because Satan, the devil, is very subtle. He's very tricky. Attack would be something like a doubtful thought. You decide to start a business. Immediately, your mind says, "Who do you think you are? You're not business savvy. You're not an entrepreneur." You decide to get in shape, and immediately your mind says, "Who do you think you are? You'll never stick with it." You decide to get closer to God, and your mind tells you you're not worthy. And I also have a video on why you shouldn't always be listening to your mind. So make sure you check that out. Now, doubt is designed to stop movement before it starts. Now, the second attack, and this is the devil's favorite weapon, is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of what other people may think of you. Fear keeps people trapped in a prison that doesn't even exist. Most of the things that people fear never happen, yet fear steals years away from people's lives. And then the third attack is going to be distraction. And this may be one of the most dangerous ones because you need to be definite in your purpose. Once you have that vision of the person that you want to be, you have to be definite in your purpose. Every single thing you do, every single thought you have from when you wake up to you go to sleep needs to be definited in that purpose of what you want and the type of person that you want to be. So distraction can be one of the most dangerous tools that the devil is going to use against you. And distraction typically is very harmless, which is why it's dangerous. A few minutes on social media, a few videos, a few hours wasted, a little bit of procrastination. None of this seems dangerous within itself, but it slowly disconnects you from that purpose. Now, one of the last attacks, because there's so many of them that I want to talk about, is negative self talk. Pay attention to the voice in your head. Listen very carefully. Many people speak to themselves in a way that they would never speak to a human being. They'll say things like, "I'm not good enough. I'm always messing up. I'll never succeed." The voice becomes a prison if you do not challenge it. And then finally, one more last attack that I want to talk about is forgetting who you're trying to become. The moment that you lose your vision, you begin to drift. And the moment that you drift, you are in the devil's hands. Now, that's why every day you must remind yourself, who am I becoming? What do I stand for? What does God expect from me today? What kind of man or woman am I choosing to become? Because the battle is not won once. The battle is won every single day with every thought, with every action, with every decision that you choose to have. You are either moving towards your purpose or you're drifting away from it. And the people who conquer drifting are the people who eventually conquer their minds and conquer their lives. Now, if you're feeling resistance right now, don't automatically assume something's wrong. Maybe change your perspective about it. You're moving in the right direction, which is why you're being attacked with these negative thoughts that you're having, which is how the devil attacks you, is through your thought and in your mind. You're moving in the right direction, which is the reason that he's attacking you in the first place. Now, you're becoming intentional, which is why he's attacking you. You're waking up, which is why he's attacking you. And that is exactly why you should not give up and you should not stop. I love you all. If you guys like this type of content, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, also share it with a friend. I'm out, guys.